Hold on, everyone, Papa yelled. Big waves coming right at us. Mimi held on to her hat and shouted to the kids, now we know firsthand just how quickly these storms can come up out here. Christina looked over at Grant, who looked a pale shade of green. As the boat hit a particularly huge wave, Grant doubled over. Bleh! He threw up over the side of the boat. Mimi leaned over to help him. At least you have good aim, Grant, she said, winking at Christina. Fortunately, they were near the shore. Papa docked the boat as quickly as he could on Mackinac Island. Christina was ready for dry land and a dry bed. She knew she would sleep well tonight. She would forget about the text messages and storms and lighthouses and ghosts and everything else for a while. Chapter 10, Cheeks and Pits for Dinner. Christina quickly forgot her concerns once she set foot on Mackinac Island. Elegant Victorian buildings where flower boxes overflowing with vibrant blooms lined the main street. Tall, muscular horses pulled carriages filled with waving tourists, not the least bit upset by the stormy skies. Bicycles whizzed by, weaving their way around the buggies. It's like we just stepped back in time, Christina exclaimed. Why aren't there any cars anywhere? Because they're not allowed here, Dominic explained. Tourists and residents get around by walking, riding bikes, or traveling in horse-drawn carriages. Pretty cool, huh? Grant nodded. But what does that say? He asked, pointing to a sign in curly Victorian script. Is that how you spell the island's name? It's spelled Mackinac. But you've been saying Mackinac. Well, Nicole began, we learned on the field trip that the pronunciation is Mackinac because it was named after an Aboriginal tribe way back in prehistoric times. The tribesmen stood on the mainland and looked over at this island and saw large high cliffs. To them, it looked like a giant reptile, and they called it Mish-la-Mackinac. Mish-a-mash what? Grant asked. Well, Nicole continued, Mish-la-Mackinac in their language meant large turtle. And seeing that this island would be very green in the summer and round, that it would look like a turtle to someone, Christina added. So we pronounce it as they would have, Nicole said, with an aw at the end, instead of an ac that we see at the end. I get it, Grant said. I hope you're hungry, Mimi said, as she turned to face the kids, 'cause we're here. She led them to a quaint restaurant humming with life and full of unfamiliar food smells. Condensation covered the windows, making seeing outside an impossibility. Mimi had ordered something very special for them to eat. The waiter brought 4 bowls, filled to the brim with a steamy, creamy soup. Hope you enjoy your walleye cheek chowder, he stated. Wall what? Christina asked. Grant took his spoon and pushed the soup around. He expected to see giant paint flecks and googly eyeballs. He sniffed the bowl. Smells like fish, he said, looking rather uncertain about the whole thing. It's a fish called a walleye that is plentiful here in the Great Lakes. It's good. Try some, Mimi added. Christina spied her friends eating the soup with gusto. She dipped her spoon tentatively into the soup so as not to get too much at first. She took a slurp. It reminded her of clam chowder, but it had a slightly different taste. Christina said and filled her spoon again. Grant watched Christina eat first. He figured if she liked it, he'd give it a try, even if it might have eyeballs in it. Christina took a bite and jumped. Clank! Grant dropped his spoon and pushed the bowl away. That does it. I'm not eating that, Grant announced. No, it's not the soup, silly, Christina said. It's my phone. I had it on vibrate and just got a message. Grant scooted closer to her. While Christina opened the phone underneath the table, Grant leaned down so they could talk in private. Nicole and Dominic were avidly discussing culinary delights with Mimi and Papa. The text message read, You saw the sign, but went in anyway. Just like there, you'll hear my boots on the stairs. Christina, we went into the lighthouse even though I saw the sign, the keep out sign, Grant reminded her. Christina nodded, and we heard a loud noise, like something was on the steps, she said with a gulp. Do you think the person sending this, Christina asked, swallowing hard, could be a ghost? Yes, I do, Grant whispered, his blue eyes serious. Well, with that riddle solved, we now have an even bigger mystery on our hands, Christina said. And what's that? Grant asked. Where this ghost is and why he or she, Grant interrupted, or she is sending us text messages, Christina finished. She and Grant popped back up the table before